Boss there, Patrick Byrne, with Maria and myself here on the balcony. Welcome, nice to see you.
Sir.
How are you? What we're hearing has been that there's lots of volume, but that the dollar size of each transaction is either unchanged or lower. Is that the case in your world?
Just the opposite for us. We've gone up about 10% in dollar volume per transaction.
So more transactions and bigger dollars per transaction at Overstock.
Definitely, yeah. About the same number of transactions and about a 10% increase in the size.
And to what do you attribute that?
Well, there's a big mix shift going on for us. We're heavily female. Something strange has happened in the economy this year. Normally the retailers, Macy's and Nordstrom's, they get their fall goods in August, and then on Columbus Day reorder. Well, there was such a unseasonably warm fall, they didn't place big reorders, so the manufacturers were coming to us for the first time directly. This is the first Christmas we've had the same products that are in Macy's and Nordstrom's.
It's not closeout merchandise.
Correct.
You have contemporary merchandise on the website because of the weather this fall.
Evidently.
You know, it's an interesting story because your business is largely domestic. So you're really looking at the U.S. economy and being reliant on the holiday shopping season, certainly. And here we are every day talking about the idea that the consumer is slowing down and they're worried about higher oil prices and they're worried about the slowing housing sector. You're not seeing that. But do you need to look overseas in order to really have an insurance policy, if you will?
I think we do, and next year we have an initiative to open up Canada and a couple countries in Europe. We tend to be counter-cyclical. Inventory, you buffer or suffer in supply chain theory. So in a modest economy, it's hard for us. In very good or very bad times, we actually get a lot of people calling us. It's the mediocre times that aren't very good for us.
So you haven't seen a slowdown in the consumer, no evidence of that, even in the face of all these pressures?
I'd say no, it's coming in about where we thought. Our margins are a little bit lower than we thought. We've had to do some heavier discounting. I think we'll end up plus or minus 1% on a GAAP basis, but we're generating positive cash flow. And we're having a pretty nice Christmas.
One thing that we've watched, and we saw this today, Merrill Lynch today downgraded a lot of the consumer finance companies on a consumer concern. Capital One, American Express, all that jazz. Those are the cards and consumers that buy on your website. It's curious what the correlation would be.
It's fun. You know what the correlation is? I think it's long overdue. I think that we're living at the edge of a 1929 kind of disaster. I'm in the wrong place to say that. I've been very bearish for 2 years. Discount shoppers tend to be lower income people or affluent. The middle class likes to pay full retail. It's rich people and poor people who squeeze a penny. And as we go into a bad economy, I think it actually, people start squeezing pennies and it actually helps us. It's the mediocre economy we've been in for the last few years that's the toughest.
But why, you seemed quite interested when I told you that they downgraded the consumer finance names. Why?
Well, because I think it's way overdue. I think that we've been living in a house of cards for about 6 years. I think that the American economy is like an old man in an oxygen tent that you flood with oxygen and keep him up, but you turn off the oxygen, he fades very quickly. Well, the cheap oxygen in our system has been cheap credit. I think this is way overdue.
House of cards?
I think our economy is a house of cards. I think we're looking at the edge of I've been saying this, by the way, since before this August. We're on the edge of a global financial meltdown, I believe.
So you're expecting recession in the U.S. and you're calling it a meltdown?
Yes. In fact, I think that the statistics that are coming out from the government now are basically half-truths. M3, which they stopped reporting a year and a half ago, shows they're flooding the economy at 15%.
Right, but forget the government even, and we can go on. I guess this could be an all-day conversation too. But I always judge the market based on what it does. It's a self-evident machine. I don't claim to be any, And if you look at the past 5 years, they have been spectacular, not just in terms of stock market performance, but in terms of the emergence of lifestyle on the earth. Meaning that we've watched the construction of billions of large buildings, etc., and the emergence of a digital culture of consumption, technological commerce here, to which, by the way, you are a tremendous beneficiary.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. I find it curious that you don't see that, or that you don't give that more credit.
Well, I give the markets credit in general.
Not just the markets, but the economic prosperity.
Well, I think that prosperity has largely come from we've been writing the checks on the bank account of future people. in one way or another, the Fed and the Treasury have been inflating this economy with cheap credit for about 5 years longer than they should have, and I think it's all going to come to a pretty ugly end.
Look, we got to talk about two issues before we let you go. Let's talk about the Facebook fiasco, right? I mean, this is an issue that a lot of people are talking about. Basically, Facebook apologized because they have this Beacon program which tracks the purchases of Facebook users on third-party websites such as Overstock.com. Now, you backed out of this program. You were getting complaints. Tell me what happened.
Yes, Facebook. Well, every social media is sort of Bam Bam, Barney Rubble's child. It's this very powerful infinite. Nobody knows what to do with it yet. Facebook and we made a deal where if you're a Facebook user and you came and you bought a pair of shoes on your site, we would ask you, do you want to tell your friends on Facebook? And if you said yes, and if you said yes on Facebook, Facebook would broadcast that to friends, to your friends. Well, some people got upset about this, and so
Overstock customers or Facebook customers?
well, more
or both?
Facebook people.